Welcome to the Ordinary People Do Extraordinary Things podcast. I'm your host, Michael Esguerra, founder of MBE Learning, and today we've got a very special guest. His name is Alain Dumonceaux. He's the founder of The Awakened Man, the leader of the Band of Brothers. He's certified in NLP. He's a certified NLP practitioner, executive and life coach, certified in emotional intelligence, timeline therapy, and also managed to obtain an MBA along with all of those other things that he does. Just an incredible man, does a lot of things, and he's my good friend. So, Alain, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you so much, Mike, for having me on. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely, bro. Happy to have you here, man, and looking forward to this conversation. So, man, let's get into it. Let's just start. So, you're the founder of The Awakened Man. Tell us more about The Awakened Man.
Yeah, absolutely. I started The Awakened Man about, just prior to the pandemic, actually. There was a beta group of 8 guys that were willing to do some work with me on helping get clear on what was going on in their life. And from that, I got such positive feedback from not only themselves, but even their spouses saying, man, this is just outstanding. We need more of that. And especially here in Winnipeg, there isn't a lot of resources for men. And so from learning from my life experience and what these folks went through was, it just felt right and it was time to do it. So yeah, so I've been doing this since late 2019.
That's awesome, and that's right around the time when we met, right?
I think that's right. I think just around that time, I think you might have come out to 1 or 2 sessions there where we were still doing in person. And then from there, it's just really grown. Like tons of effort, as you know, growing a new business. But I haven't felt this kind of passion in like 30 years. It's just been incredible to be able to do this work.
That's awesome. That's awesome. It is. It's very fulfilling, and very man. I found working in the personal development space, it's helped me personally as a person so much. Like my personal growth has been exponential, diving into the space. So I'm sure you're nodding your head. You probably experienced the same thing.
Absolutely. I think we get into personal development business because we have a passion to learn for ourselves. And there's not a better way to learn than to do it with other individuals, right? Because when you are able to be in that space with them and you can relate to what they're going through, it really helps you understand, because you get to, sometimes it's a mirror and sometimes it's, hey, you never considered that off that perspective. So just, we're in this for a reason, Michael. We're doing this work because we're called to do it.
Absolutely. And honestly, I speak firsthand. I do this first and foremost for my own personal growth. Admittedly, had I not entered this space, I probably wouldn't be here doing a live interview with you or anyone, to be honest. There was a lot of internal work that I had to work on. Things like something like confidence, for example. And it's weird because I spoke in front of hundreds of people throughout my career. But it didn't mean that it was easy on the inside, so.
I hear you. I totally hear you. I'm going to feel the same way. I have no problem standing on the stage to do a presentation, but to do this type of thing like we're doing today and then to see yourself is a different perspective, man, isn't it? You really, a lot of stuff comes up and stuff that, I thought I worked on that and did that work. Not so much.
And to some people it comes naturally, but there's some people, you learn and grow into it. I am one of those people where I learned and I grew into it.
Absolutely, brother. Absolutely.
If you don't mind, if you're comfortable, man, how did you get into it? So, you started The Awakened Man. What sparked you to get into this?
This is, oh boy, we're going to get into a little bit of history here. So, 30 plus years ago, I was married to my high school sweetheart. And I really thought back then that this was going to be this was the love of my life. This was going to be how my life was going to end. We were going to grow old together, and, we'd have matching, walking canes, and the whole ball wax, right? We dressed the same, this has out older. And then when that marriage fell apart and I ended up by losing everything, and I mean everything, I lost everything, my family, financial, it was so devastating that it started me on this path of of professional, or I should say, self-development. Because at the time, my professional career was through the roof. I was in the culinary field. I had just come back from Germany competing in the culinary Olympics. And life was just like, I just thought I had life, by the, what. And then when my marriage fell apart, I wondered, how can a guy be so successful in one aspect of his life and then just sucks on the other side? And so that really started the ball rolling. But it was an intellectual thing. As you know me, I'm very much a in the head type of guy. And so this journey between the head to the heart is one I've been working on for about 20 years. And it took another time of just about losing my marriage about 4 years ago with the lady that I'm currently married with, that I started to do the work for moving from my heart, and into my soul, who I am, because I was so frustrated. Okay, Al, it's not like you don't know any better. I've read all the self-help books. I took all those classes, thousands of hours, thousands of dollars, did this work, and yet I'm still making mistakes. I'm still screwing up. And it was that catalyst, just about losing my marriage for the second time, but really losing who I was as a man. I decided that it's enough's enough. And when I looked for help, there just wasn't anything around. If I wanted to go and get any work done, it was always in a room with other females in the room. And I had nothing wrong with my female friends. I love them dearly. But as a man, it can be very intimidating to speak about your stuff in a crowd like that. And so it got me on the path of thinking, well, there's got to be men's groups around. That's really where I read this book, Backbone, by David Wagner, and it just set my heart afire. Yes, this is the work I was called to do. I've had all these experiences because there are men like me that are struggling and need this help. And that really is what got me to this point. Amen. This is the work I do.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you for embarking on that journey, and making a positive impact on men's life. You found this need, for yourself, and you found a solution. You didn't just wait around to see, well, maybe somebody will open something up where a group of men can get together and learn and grow. You took initiative and you started one yourself. So kudos to you for that. And yeah. And I just want to say that I'm sorry to hear about what had happened in the past, but sometimes change happens either through pain or it can happen through choice. It sounded like it happened through incredible pain, and as much as I'm sorry to hear that all that stuff happened. It's almost like you learned and you grew to be the person that you are today because of those experiences.
Yeah, and I appreciate you feeling, with the sentiments of being sorry, but truly it was a gift and a blessing. And I say that today, because I look back upon it. I'm not here. I'm here today because of those choices and those decisions, and that's really the work that I do with men, helping them to understand and take responsibility for where they are in life. This was nobody's fault. It wasn't my employer's fault. It wasn't my wife's fault. It wasn't my family or whoever I wanted to blame for where my life was. It was my fault. It was when I were ready to take responsibility. As soon as I did that, then okay, now that's one brick off my shoulders. And so when I got a chance to do that, then I can start to take responsibility for who I want to be, what I am. And now that's the hard work. Right? That's that journey now. That's okay, in my heart, I know who I want to be, but do I truly know what I'm going to talk about? To know, I know that I know that I know. And when you know it in your gut who you are and what you're about, it's a game changer, totally different. And so I'm much more confident in who I am today than I've ever been in the 48 plus years on this planet.
Wow, that's amazing. Like what an amazing journey. It almost sounds like that change through pain. Now it's almost becoming change through choice as you go through your journey and you dive in deeper. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It totally is about choice. It's about recognizing when we have these choices in front of us, and it's okay about. And today, I'm not as afraid to make a decision as I was before. And I've learned so much about how my interactions are with my wife and with other individuals, and how those, while it may not at the surface look like a choice, it is a choice for how I'm choosing to interact. Am I withholding stuff? Am I willing to share more? Where am I at? So one of the things I really work hard at for myself is really raising the level of my intimacy in terms of how vulnerable do I feel. And obviously today I feel very comfortable with you, Michael, that I can share what I'm sharing with you. It's because we've created that rapport, we've created that peace for each other, and it's worth to share that for other people to understand and know that they're going through stuff that, man, we've gone through similar things. Maybe not exactly, but we've gone through similar. And that empathy is what really helps start that ball.
I feel you for sure. Like my mentor tells me, once told me, you can't take someone somewhere you haven't been before. And the fact that you've gone through those experiences, firsthand, it might not be exact, but I mean, it's probably very similar. So you have this deep level of empathy for people that have, maybe gone through a divorce or a breakup or, other, challenges that you've experienced in your life, right?
Absolutely, because while the experiences are all different, they really come down to some core emotions that we're all going to feel, right? And so we're going to feel that anger, that pain, sadness, and joy. And so regardless of where that experience comes in, we feel it, we hold it very similar parts of our body and in how we are as individuals. And so when we can start to work through that, I think it really helps us get clearer on what those triggers are and what to do to help process.
No, for sure. That's awesome. And like, I guess, fast forward to today. Now so you've got the Awakened Man, and you've also got this thing called Band of Brothers. What's Band of Brothers about?
So Band of Brothers is really what that beta group helped develop, and it's really a group mentorship program. It's an opportunity for men to get together and to work through some things. Now, what I generally do with the group is we work through a specific theme or a topic as part of the meeting to give an opportunity for us to work through some things that maybe we haven't considered in light of. And then the next part that I really felt was missing in the early iterations of it was getting an opportunity for the guys to share what's going on with themselves and get an opportunity for the group to help provide advice and help through it. So there's two parts of it. One part is really about learning and sharing and not providing that advice, but being able to hold space and learn as men how to do that. I hear you, brother. That really resonated with me, being able to articulate that way. But then on the other side, to bring up the stuff that I'm dealing with, you're dealing with, how can we help you through that? So I'm taking some aspects of the different program and starting to embed it into the Band of Brothers.
Yeah, that's interesting. Like, because I'm trying to think of like what comes to mind when I think of like the, I guess, quote unquote, traditional man, or what it's like to be manly, and like, I mean, I'm a little different, but when I think of like traditionally speaking, like, isn't it? We don't talk about those. I thought it's like we don't talk about our feelings. We don't talk about those things, or do you think it's changed?
No, man, it's still very much like that. It's still much like Fight Club, right? We just don't, but it's the man club. We don't talk about feelings. We don't talk about, the sticky stuff, and because for a lot of us, we just think that that's really uncool, right? That's just not what men do. But the truth of the matter is that the strongest men are those that can feel into their emotions and understand where they are, and then still be able to act upon them. And so it's about being able to have that discernment, because we've been taught, boys don't cry, and to really push down our emotions. We don't really know how to interact with them well. And so it's important that we get a chance to learn how to do that. And let's face it, in the recent half dozen years or so, the Me Too movement has really pushed masculinity into a dark light, and for good reason. There was lots of examples of very poor masculine men that are being held up, and that's not who men are in general. But we tend to take the idea of masculinity And when I think about masculinity, I think about the warrior archetype, and it's the negative side of it. It's about the aggression. It's the purpose driven. It's all the hard stuff. But that's the strong end of the warrior or the masculinity to see peace. But really, what I work with men is helping them get to be more centered. Yes, you have how do you turn that aggression into being assertive? That's very different, right? When you're assertive, you're still holding your ground. You're still able to communicate, but you're also leaving that other person in a good place. Whereas aggression doesn't do that. So how do we do that and learn how to be more assertive and be in a position where we hold strength, be masculine, and still have that light and that power with us that allows the other person's light and power to show as well.
Absolutely. Oh, that's awesome. And like, I'm totally with you. I think having that, I guess you can say like that different perspective on like what masculinity is, because like even for me, like, I'm not the traditional masculine energy. We've spoken a lot. You can check out my social media. I don't really talk about what like the typical, the masculine topics, right? So how do you like, if you encounter a man that is very like heavy into their masculinity, or like the traditional masculinity, like, how do you open them up to that different perspective, maybe seeing masculinity in a different light?
Yeah, I think it's important to when I see that that's occurring is to be assertive and challenge them in their position. Mm-hmm. So, is there not a better way that you could have said that, Michael? Mm-hmm. Would be a way that I would address that. Mm-hmm. And what was your intent with what you're doing with that commentary or that action? And so what it does is it shifts the perspective, because I think what happens when we're in that aggressive and that heavy masculine piece is that our end goal is to win and to overcome. Where from an assertive standpoint, it's more of a win-win-win position. Because we're not in a position very often anymore where it's about fight and win. We're not running through saber-toothed tigers. We're not trying to fend off our life. What we're trying to fend off is our poor ego getting hurt. More often than not, that is. And so I think it's about helping them gain perspective of what their actions are doing, paying attention, having them see the reaction. What body language did you recognize after you made that comment? And helping them to get a sense of what's going on around them, because we tend to be like the thoroughbred horse, blinders on, and we just see what's right in front of us, and we forget about the impact that we're leaving. So I think for me, that is a couple of things that I look to do to help people understand their actions.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. It's like meeting them with a similar, I guess, energy, but not like in the exact same way. It's like meeting them with a question, like a thought-provoking question, to get them to reflect on what it is their actions were, or what their thoughts were, what they were saying. Just getting them to reflect and look inwards.
So yeah, it's an old Tony Robbins idea from years ago. I remember reading this in his first book, Giant Men, and he talks about stepping into where they are, because in order for them to hear you, you first have to meet them where they're at. And to your point, it's not about being aggressive, because that just escalates it. And now it's an escalator. It's about stepping into that space enough for them to hear you, to then pull them back out of it. And when we're able to do that, then we're able to shift, change perspectives, as opposed to trying to start from too much of a soft place. I'm calm about it. I'm not really being assertive. They're not going to hear that, because they're already at a peaked emotional state. So it's about meeting them in that space that's safe, that allows you to pull back and get them to come with you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like what you said there around like that whole like win-win-win situation. Like everyone can win. There doesn't have to be one winner, because I mean, I don't know, at the end of the day, like, this is just one person's thoughts and beliefs, but I don't think anyone is ever really right, and no one is ever really wrong. Like it's a spectrum to me anyway, to me, right? Like, I mean, I don't because like no one is ever 100% right, and no one's ever 100% wrong, right? Different perspectives. It all depends on the perspective, right?
100%. The degree of rightness goes this way, right? And there's very few things that are absolute in life. So when we have that idea that there's an opportunity for everyone to have their space within the rightness of it, then everybody gets a chance to win.
Yeah, no, for sure. There was something that you mentioned a little bit earlier around, you were earlier in life, you were operating in your headspace. Then you had this life experience that shifted you to operate more from the heart space. Then you have, another experience that happens in life that, that makes you go even deeper. So curious, like what, thinking about those two journeys, going from your head to the heart, and then from your heart deeper into your soul. Is there, like, I guess what I'm trying to figure out, like, what those journeys look like. Like, were there similarities, or what was different between, going from your head to the heart and from your heart deeper into your soul? Do you have any insight there?
Yeah, for sure. For me, the journey from my head to my heart was really about asking good questions, and asking questions about what does life mean to me.
Mm-hmm.
What is it that I want out of life? What resonates with me? It's being in that place. But when you're in that place, and even though you're working towards your heart, you're still very much at an egocentric level, because you're still involved with I'm the director of my life. Well, a lot of the stuff that I say and I talk about really sounds like being the director of your life, taking control of your destiny. The real piece is about, and that's about helping guys get from here to here. And once you're in here and you're asking the right questions, what's important for you in life? Why is it important to me? What will I get from achieving this? How will my life benefit? Those types of questions. And then to go from there and truly embody it, get it into your soul. And that's really the journey, is to now it becomes more of a spiritual walk. And that spiritual walk means I don't ask, the question is different. The question now is, what is the highest idea of my life? And then be quiet. And just be quiet. So the work now for me is when I have a meditation practice, that when I'm doing that, that's the question I'm asking. What is the highest idea for my life? And just let it sit. And sometimes lots of ideas and things come to me. And so I carry a little notepad, and I'll make little notes. And other times I get nothing. And that's okay. It doesn't, I don't judge it any longer. I'm working really hard to remove that judgment, trying to figure out what it is. And so the difference now is that I'm attempting to be the observer of what my life is, instead of trying to control every little piece of my life. To turn over and say, okay, well, I don't necessarily have all the answers. Well, I know I don't have all the answers, but I know what I can do, which is just allow things that come to me. And I can tell you, Michael, that when I started doing this practice really earnestly, especially during this time of COVID, the way the business has shifted for me it's just been incredible. More so in the last several weeks, honestly, probably the last 8 to 10 weeks. It's really pivoted. And it's just taken time for me to just be okay with it, just let it go, right? Others can happen much faster. Just I know from my experience, I still very much want to do. So can I back off enough? It's okay. I'll just sit with it. What am I being guided to do? And is this for me to do? You know, is this work really for me to do? Because we will get an idea. Lots of times I have I've never shortage of ideas. I'm sure you would the same way. The challenge is, though, we think that we have to do all of them. But the question really is this for me to do?
Yeah.
Some of it is not.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Finding podcast guests, while it sounds like is my work to do, just happens. How are we here today? Right? This was it's a peaceful part of my business, and here we're doing a live podcast, right? It's doing the same thing, and I didn't have to do anything for it except that I know you, and we're good friends.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's such an interesting concept, and so I guess maybe top of mind for me as of late, like just that whole concept of instead of having to be in control, being the observer of the life. Like what a shift, because I too am the same way. It's like, I want to set goals. Like it was almost like I didn't have control of my life. So it's like, okay, well, I want to have control of my life. So I'm going to set goals. I'm going to be intentional, take life where I want to take it, kind of thing. And then you take it to a certain point, then all of a sudden it's like, okay, well, there's also value in letting go and being the observer and allowing things to happen. But wait a second, I thought like 5 years ago it was all about having control. And you know what I'm saying? Yeah, I just find that so interesting.
Yeah, you know what? It's to me, it's a bit of a balancing act. You still need to have that vision or that goal, that piece that you want. As we've worked through things before, right? Doing your SMART goal. And yes, there's going to be steps and things you're going to do every day, but there are so many things that we can't even think of that if we think. What I'm saying is what I stopped doing was saying, well, I had to do this, and this in order for that to happen. Now I get up. What's the next thing that I have to do? So I do my best to use my weekly planner to write down the things I want to get done. Not too much detail, just for a podcast, write an article, and then I not worry about it. I schedule some time to work at it, but I'm not worrying about the deep minutia within the details. And then something else will come up. So, I just got a request to be on Michael's podcast. Okay, well, I can make room for that, because that to me says this is what Spirit's saying to me. This is what my soul was saying. This is the next step. I didn't even think of it, but it came. Yeah, absolutely. And so it's about being open enough to pivot and change the direction that we may need to in order to attain that long-term goal, because there's just too many steps.
Yeah, and maybe I'll add that it came, but it's aligned with your vision and your mission, and that's why you create that space and that time to be able to do something like this. Like, yeah, maybe you didn't necessarily plan it or think about it, but it came to you, and it's aligned with that greater vision that you have.
Yeah, to me, it just comes back to that Buddhist story about the apprentice, and the master, doing things, and the apprentice not understanding, and finally the master just says to him, life is about chop wood and carry water. And then when you attain whatever it is you're trying to attain, life still is chop wood, carry water. In other words, not for us to try to figure out the hows and all the pieces. At least that's my interpretation of it. It's just to continue on with the work, and then life happens, right?
Ooh, that is powerful, and especially again, just like that, just really hits me right now, because I'm coming off of I took some time off to spend with family. I was hosting family and whatnot, and so I'm just getting back into things. And as I'm getting back into things, it's like it's not the same as before, but I'm also trying to be not as judgmental on myself, because I also realized, how I was operating like a month or two ago. I stacked a bunch of habits on top of each other, and I was, I was this well-oiled machine, and was just going. I took some time off, let go of some of the habits that I built. And now I'm starting to, habit stack again and get back into that space. But I was really hard on myself at first because I wasn't operating how I was in like June or beginning of July. And I really just had to, just kind of like let go of that. It's like, yeah, of course I'm not operating the way that I was a couple of months ago. I let go of some of the habits, and now I'm just not really starting from scratch, but starting from, almost the beginning kind of thing. But that's the thing. And that's one of the messages that I had to tell myself. It's like, stay the course and finish the task, right? Chop that wood and just carry that water and just keep going, and things will happen, right?
Absolutely, brother. Absolutely. And because you've had a bit of time away, you probably also, I would imagine, you've had a little bit of time to discern some of the things that were happening before and reprioritize what's truly important and not important. It's good to take a bit of a break, and it's important that we do that on a regular basis to help us recenter and refocus ourselves on getting back to what's truly important. And you're absolutely right. We're one and the same. I get very hard on myself, very judgmental, and more so than on anybody else. And you just need to be kinder and gentler on yourself, and just and then just get after it. Be fine.
Absolutely. Yeah. Just so interesting. And I'm with you. I'm a big advocate of resting, getting good rest. I shared a post a couple of days ago, work hard, play hard, and rest hard. Like, rest is a big part of doing, it's like music, right? There's rest notes in music for a reason. And sometimes those are the most powerful notes, right? You hear a drummer playing, and sometimes it's the notes that they're not playing that are the most powerful, right? So if that concept exists in music, what areas does it, what other areas does it exist in? And I would say 100% it exists in, when it comes to like living life and pursuing goals and whatnot. Like, it's a natural part, right? We all go to sleep at night, right? Rest is a natural part every single day, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Awesome. Oh man, I had something that I wanted to ask about, but it's escaping me. But the other thing that I wanted to ask about, because you kind of mentioned like vision, a little bit about the mission. So maybe if you don't mind, like getting into that, like tell me more about your mission and vision and beliefs and values, that type of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So really, I think, for me, it really starts with understanding what my true beliefs are about things in life. And so the beliefs and values are really intertwined with each other, right? And so what I valued before was, I really valued about climbing that corporate ladder, and getting to the top rung, running a large organization. And when I looked at what the belief behind that was, the belief was that, well, that's how I know that I'm successful. That's how I know that I've made it. And when I realized that that's not the measuring stick that I want for my life anymore, the measuring stick for me became more about how many people can I empower, how many lives can I change. Then my value shifted from the success idea of climbing a corporate ladder and having a certain title and a certain wage to how positive can I make this person's faith? How impactful can I be in my endeavors? And the moment that shift changed, then everything around me, all my actions changed. Now it was less about that driving piece to get things done. It was more about, while I'm still very eager to get things done, it's also done with a strong mindset of how am I impacting people? How will this impact even more people in a positive way to allow them to grow and flourish? And so I think when I started to understand that part of who I am and what I truly value, then my beliefs was less about my personal gains and more about what I can do overall. And so let's face it, there's still some ego built into that that's still going to come to you at some level. But I would say that split was more when in the past was more of a 70 or 80% ego driven, 20% everything else. I would say that's pivoted now. Well, there's still a bit of that ego, And I think we're all imperfect souls, and that's what we work towards, about reducing and managing that ego side of our lives. And the better that we can do that and get a hold of that part, then the more influence we can make. So then it really turns into, who are you as a person? So I know what I'm comfortable with doing. I'm comfortable with with presenting and being in front and working with people. Other folks are much better at, writing articles. I write for a blog, and for folks out in Vancouver, and I got to tell you, it's a struggle every month when it's my name gets called to write the article, because that's just not who I am, and that's a belief, right? That's not who Al is. So I'm really working on, why am I saying that Al's that's not who I am? I can be a good writer if I put my mind to it and put my heart into it. And so I challenged myself over these last couple of months, for sure, to send out an article a week to my email list, to get into the habit of writing and getting in there and really getting and finding my voice. And I think that was, it's about how, when you recognize how we want to shift and change those beliefs of what we think we are as somebody. Is that really true? And does that serve me anymore? There's lots of beliefs that no longer serve me, and some that still do. And so it's about shifting that, and then that changes what I value now. And then when it comes down to really my mission, truly my mission is to help men live lives, authentic lives. And I would say it's about living a life of purpose, on purpose. And I think sometimes that sounds a bit spiritual or religious, but it's not necessarily that way. If that's how you feel, that's great. But it's really about, do you know why you got up this morning and what you're doing today? Is there purposeful action? Is there intention behind what it is you're doing? Are you being guided, or are you just getting up and going through the motions? It reminds me of, I had this old cartoon come out years and years ago, probably 20 years ago, and I can't remember the cartoon character, but it was husband and wife, and the guy his right arm is just like massive, like he's been working out, and it's because every day he's been punching his alarm clock. He goes, yes, Alice, it's another day off to work, right? It's the same old routine, and that just resonated with me. Just stuck. That's how we live a lot of our lives, is it? We just don't even think. We just bang, hit the alarm, off to go. We have no intention, real thought behind why we're doing it. We're just caught in the muck. Can we elevate ourselves up?
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, routine can be a good thing, but when you're not being intentional with it and you're just kind of going through the motions, I think that's when it can be kind of work to your disadvantage, I guess you can say. But I wanted to acknowledge a couple of things that you said there, like that whole like belief about like, if you're a good writer or not. I was like, really? Alan thinks that about himself? Because I read your emails like every week, and I'm like, man, it sounds like you're a great writer. Like, I have no idea what you're talking about. But like it said, that you will never outperform your self-belief and your self-image, how you see yourself. And that's why it's so important. So, kudos to you for having that awareness of like, okay, well, maybe right now I'm thinking that I'm not really a great writer. So you're shifting your perspective on that, telling yourself like, no, I am a good writer. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to practice every single week with my email list and write articles to the people on my email list, so that when it comes, for this monthly blog, I'm going to write great monthly blogs. Like, just that perspective shift. And now look at you putting things into practice. And I'm sure that, this month when your name is called, you're going to write an incredible blog post. And yeah, I mean, you've got blogs on your website as well. I'm like, yeah, I was just blown away. I was just like, wow, dude, like, I see you right. Like, you do it, man. Thank you, Dr. Grant.
I really appreciate that. That's outstanding. Yeah, it's interesting though how we can. I really like what you said there about we can never outperform our self-belief. And the flip side to that is how many of us stop ourselves because of our self. I got to tell you, there's still lots of things that prevent me from doing more than what I can do. And it's about being kinder and, it's okay. And then just get back on the horse and do something. And the challenge is when we start comparing ourselves, we're either way above or we're way below. Most of the time, we're way below because how often do we compare ourselves to somebody that we would consider less than? Never, right? We're looking at, I look at your work and I go, man, I really like that you like the website. But I look at your site and go, that opening video there is just outstanding. I got to get one of those, man. I got to do that. And but you know what? It's a perspective. It's what we need to stop doing that. We need to do what feels good. I saw a friend of mine did a post on Instagram, and she's very uncomfortable doing what we're doing. So she posts static images and different videos. But she had something, I know you like Gary Vaynerchuk's information, and she had a quote in there. Gary just said, just because I'm doing videos and doing all this, you see somebody else, just do you. If you is not doing videos and you are doing static images with quotes and all that, just do you and do it well. You will find your audience for people. And I just thought that was so powerful for her to admit, and also for us that follower to see that and go, yeah, absolutely right. You don't have to necessarily, we may not be the next Gary Vaynerchuk. We might not be the next Joe Rogan podcast. It's okay. It's okay. Just do you, right? And I know you like to say that too. Just do you.
You're starting to get all my lines. We talk too much, I think. No, it's awesome. It's awesome. No, and it's absolutely true. Like I think I'm just the type of person that I bite off more than I can chew. So I try to do a lot of things. But you're absolutely right. If somebody were to ask my perspective on that, like that would be my. I don't really like giving advice, but if I had to give advice, that would be my advice. Is like, do that one thing that you are really good at. Like, don't worry about what other people are doing. Just, focus on you. Do what you're good at, because, you're given that gift for a reason, right? You're given that gift for a reason. Use it, leverage it, and people will find you. I'm just one of those weird people where it's just like, well, let me challenge myself. Let me see if I can learn to do this, because like video was definitely not, one of my strengths for sure. But I'm like, hey, if you can learn anything, you can do anything. Let me see if I can learn how to be comfortable in front of a camera and whatnot. And earlier I was chuckling because when you were talking about like, comparing your website to mine, I'm like, dude, are you serious? Like you're thinking that like my website, like, I don't know, maybe I'm just very judgmental on my website, but I think my website is super plain Jane, and it it is, kind of intentionally that way because again, I'm trying to juggle a lot of things, but like, from my perspective, like my website's not even, where I envision it to be, or where I think that it should be. Like it's operational right now, but it's nowhere, nowhere it is. So I guess in a way it's like, thank you, but also just like, at the same time, maybe I do like, not maybe, I definitely do the same thing where it's just like, oh man, like I know this could be better. But also I guess thank you for that compliment where you think that my website looks good. So thank you.
Well, and I think it's so important, right, that when we find our wheelhouse, that we get in it and we just work it. I think you remember one of the lessons that I was teaching the guys was to not necessarily work on your faults, because all you're going to do working on your faults is improve your faults a little bit, and you're not really getting anywhere. But to really focus and sharpen what you're good at and be masters. And so that's still a bit of a balancing. I still got to make yourself a little uncomfortable and write some articles and get in front of a camera and do that. But I would suggest that do what you're really good at and get great at it. And when we can be great at something, that's when our life just takes off exponentially, because we're in our wheelhouse and it feels natural. People pick that up. They pick it up when we're comfortable and we're not. So it takes a little bit of work to get through things, and as we both know, as we're doing lives and seeing ourselves, just gotta get comfortable and at the mug, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. You know what you shared there just kind of reminded me of a Bruce Lee quote, and I wish that I knew it word for word, but unfortunately I don't. But it's something along the lines of, I fear, I don't fear the man that knows 1,000 kicks. I fear the man who knows one kick and has done it 1,000 times. And that's that whole message of like just really focus on what your strength is and what you do, because we can do anything, but we can't do everything. And so really just focusing in on your strengths. So I love that message.
Yeah, I hear you. That's outstanding.
Yeah, thank you for that. Cool, man. Well, we're about 15 minutes or so to the end of the hour, so maybe we'll start the descent of the the conversation. And but there's a couple of questions that I wanted to ask before we close out here. But you mentioned about the I think it was the mission or the vision, just around helping men live with purpose and on purpose. So or live on purpose or with purpose and on purpose. Yeah, sorry, I want to make sure that I got that right. But yeah, so can you elaborate on that a little bit? What is purpose and meaning to you?
Purpose and meaning is being when we're complete in alignment with our values, beliefs, and our vision of who we are as men. And when we are in complete alignment with that, and we know we understand and know what triggers and motivates us, is then we can take purposeful action. And so I think that the important piece is to help men get clear on it. And for the most part, I think we're clear on a couple of parts of the process, but there are other parts that we're not. And so where I find the most struggle is making sure that we understand that our values and beliefs, do they truly serve us today? And if they do, then great. And if they don't, then how can we change that to get into the type of vision that we want for ourselves and that is available to us? And so helping men work through that piece and understanding some of the energy and the pieces where we've learned some of our habits and our values and our beliefs from different perspectives, and then truly owning that. And so what I always say is that, and I kind of alluded that into my story, is that it works best for men that are ready to take responsibility for who they are in life, for where they are in life, and for whom they desire to become. And when you can be in alignment with that, be truly honest with yourself. This part of my life is great. This part needs work. This part is not too bad. This part is totally done. When we have that perspective, then we can start to focus on how to take the strengths from the areas of our life that work well, and how can we apply those into areas of our life that aren't working as well, and then bring some synergies, because rising tide raises all boats, right?
Yeah.
And so again, we're going to stay with focusing on the strengths that get us in our strongest aspect, and how do we use that to elevate the other areas of our life. And when we go through a bit of an exercise, it takes them through a bit of an exercise to go through how to come up with a vision statement, and they get an opportunity to create something. And the nice thing about it is that it's totally evolving. If I look back at my vision statement from even 6 months ago, it's not what it is today. And that's okay, because what it's saying is that I'm getting clearer what it is that who I am as an individual. So that's really the journey. It's never really a destination. It's a complete journey towards becoming all that we can be. So it's the U.S. Army.
Is it commercial for that or no?
Yeah. Well, you're a little younger than I am. I remember those commercials.
No, I do. I remember too. No, that's awesome. And that clarity is so important. Having that clarity, just knowing, where you envision yourself to be, what you want for yourself, and to live in alignment, I think is so important as well. So, thank you, brother, for all the work that you do and to support men to do that, because, speaking as a man, we need that, like, I don't remember learning that in school. I actually don't even remember learning that after school. These were things that I had to seek out myself. and had to learn on my own. So, grateful that you do what you do.
Yeah, and you know what, and unfortunately, the way life is that we learn from our failures. I'm going to rephrase that.
Yes.
Fortunately, we have the opportunity to learn from our failures, and those that choose to do that, once they can truly say to themselves, pat themselves on the back and say that I am successful because we're not repeating the same mistakes. And if it does come, that we can be gentler and understand why we're repeating that mistake to be able to get to be better. But when we become afraid and want to keep on our little influence pad, I call it our comfort zone. Think of your comfort zone as a towel on your feet. Now, is your towel a tea towel? Is it a bath towel? Is it a beach towel? Or is it the earth? You get to determine how big that comfort zone is. And for a lot of us, it's pretty much a tea towel. We don't want to take one step. One step puts us totally out of our comfort zone. Then we're great action. So how can we work? How can we work with men to get them to expand that comfort zone, get them to explore their feelings, their ideas of masculinity, and to be in a place where they're becoming and evolving into great men, husband leaders, for themselves.
That's awesome. And it's such a powerful message. And I think that's a good one to wind down on. I've got new neighbors, and so there's a bunch of noise in the background. Hopefully it's not coming through too loud. Cool, man. Well, what do you have going on, man? Like what are you offering people? What's going on in your in the Awakened Man there?
You bet. So we're just getting ready I'm just finishing up some marketing to go out for the Band of Brothers. They're going to relaunch that here this month. And so look for that coming out shortly. I'll be doing some stuff on Instagram as well as my email list. So that'll be coming out in the next week or so. But what's active today is I have a concept I call the Hero's Quest. And it's that part of taking that one determining or discerning that one aspect in your life that's struggling and working with you one-on-one. So while the Band of Brothers is a group mentoring program, the Hero's Quest is a one-on-one mentoring program. It's a 90-day challenge to help you elevate at least one aspect of your life. And as I said, rising tides and all of the shifts. And so to really work with you. And so there's a bunch of opportunities to work one-on-one with me built within it. And it helps men really hone in on what it is that's important for them in their lives. Maybe sometimes the thought in the men's group doesn't really resonate once in a while, but it is an opportunity just to deal with your stuff, just to deal with my stuff, and get some help.
Cool, awesome. Sounds intriguing. If you're watching this and you're going through some sort of transition in your life, or you're looking to make a change in your life, and you need some support, reach out to Alain. He's got the Hero's Quest is what it's called. Yeah. 90-day challenge. Connect with him, and he can support you with that. Last question before we go here. If you had access to a billboard and you could put it anywhere in this world, what would you have on it? And what would you put on the billboard, and where would you have it? Where would you put it?
Wow, what a great question. What would I put on the billboard?
Yeah.
I think what I would put on the billboard is it would just ask the question: does your life have meaning and purpose? And where would I put it? I replaced the Hollywood sign.
Wow, that's it. Yeah.
Because that's a town that needs meaning and purpose.
Yeah. And probably a lot of eyes on that sign as well. So, yeah. You would, actually, you would see it every time. Every time you look up, in the sky. Right? Yeah.
Exactly.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
That's a great question. Oh, I love that.
Feel free to beg, borrow, and steal. I got it from Tim Ferriss. He's one of my favorites in terms of interviewers and just like people in general. I've learned so much from him. So yeah.
Love it. Right on.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Alan. If you aren't already following Alan, follow him, The Awakened Man 2020 on Instagram. You can check out his website, theawakenedman.net. Just send him an email. It's Alan at theawakenedman.net. Yes, awesome. Connect with him. Connect with me if you aren't already connected with me. Follow me on YouTube. Follow me on Instagram, MB Learning One. Yeah, I think that's it. Any closing words before we close this out?
I just want to say thank you so much, Michael. It's been great to spend this time with you today. Hope the audience got a lot of value out of our conversation. I know I did. I always learn a ton spending time with you, so it's been great. I really appreciate it. Aho, brother.
Aho. Well, thank you, man. Thank you, and thank you all for tuning in, for watching, and just for being here, for supporting. Appreciate you all. Love you all. And wish you all nothing but peace, love, and joy. And remember, if you can learn anything, you can do anything. All right, take care, brother.
Yeah.
Bye, everyone. Thanks again. Take care.